liked something that in a weird way started to parallel your life a little bit. So my new therapist is having me do this thing called EMDR, and it's really insightful. It was developed for those of us who have post-traumatic stress disorder, and what you do is it's like partial exposure therapy, but different. So, like, your therapist guides you through a horrible situation from your past. You just think about something really bad that happened to you. And then, as you're remembering what happened, you tap on your shoulders or you tap on your thighs, and you close your eyes, you remember what happened, and you tell your therapist what it was that you're remembering. And then you do it again, but this time you're kind of like a spectator at the theater. You're not in that memory anymore. You're just watching it like on the big screen. And as you tap, you just let your mind wander, kind of like in meditation, but different. You just let your mind wander, and the first couple of things that pop into your head, when you're done with the tapping, you tell your therapist all about it. So, I have varying layers of PTSD. This is the second therapist to tell me that, actually, because a lot of stuff has happened to me that in the moment I didn't realize was a trauma, but we know better now. So, like, I've been through a lot of stuff. When I was a kid, I dealt with poverty, I dealt with homelessness, I lost half of my stuff in a flood, I dealt with bullying, I dealt with moving around a lot, got some family issues that were taken care of. And then as an adult, as you know, and I won't go into it very much, I promise, I've dealt with stalking, I've been hacked, I've been doxxed, I was almost in a car wreck because of a bad snowstorm, and thankfully nobody got hurt. I've just been through like a lot of stuff. You know, I've even dealt with like racism and such in my adult years, in person. It got physical. So I have to tackle like each of these events separately. You know, I've also dealt with loss, and those events are dealt with separately. In regards to my stalker, my therapist really wanted me to hone in on last week's court case. If you've seen the video already, great, I don't have to go over it. If you've not seen the video, real quick, the judge told me to my face, this is a heinous individual with murderous and sexual intent, but I'm going to let her go with a Class A misdemeanor. It's going to be on her permanent record forever, and the next time she screws up, she is going to prison, but that's that. Now, the other thing I was told after the court case, and I'd already heard this from my local police department, so hearing it from a judge was not fun, but essentially both the judge and the police department agree that it's to my benefit if I keep tabs not just on when she contacts me, when she tries to go after John, when she tries to go after everybody that we know, but also keep tabs on things that might pop up. Let's say she posts something again, like on her hate blog, and Google picks it up, keep tabs and screenshot it like minute by minute. And I told my therapist that this is ridiculous. It's not healthy. No one should do that. That is bogus. You know, I'm not my stalker's keeper. I shouldn't be keeping tabs on her. The fact that that is your best advice scares the hell out of me because that is crappy advice. And my therapist totally agreed. She's like, yeah, that's not healthy. You're not your stalker's keeper. And having to watch for these things, that's not your job. You didn't go to law school for that. That's a detective's job. That's a police officer's job. That's not your job. While we were doing the EMDR about this thing, one of the things that kind of popped into my head at random was me as a kid. When I was a kid, anytime my mom had work, like serious work, and she had to leave the house, you would think my dad would be the one to be the adult in the room, right? No. Usually, if she wasn't in the home, I was watching my brother. I was making sure he took his medicine on time, the correct dose, make sure he ate something with that, and it was healthy and not junk food. Make sure he's doing his homework, make sure he's paying attention to his homework. And I kind of had to babysit my dad too, because he was woefully, willingly immature. And in the vision that I saw during therapy this morning, I saw a little version of myself screaming, "This is not my job. Why is this my responsibility? I'm not trained for this." And going into my issue with my stalker, that's not my job. I'm not a police officer. The police and the judge suggested that I look into arming myself. I don't know how many of you know this or not. I hate guns. I lost a cousin to gun violence when I was 16 years old. And when Garland passed away, he left behind 2 little boys. And the elder of the 2 was only 6 when this happened. And I remember at the funeral, he kept asking, "Why won't Daddy come out of the brown box? I don't like the brown box. It's scary. We're supposed to go to the Cubs game today. How come Daddy's not getting out of the box?" And when we had to leave the box in the graveyard, he got even more scared. "Won't Daddy get cold in there? It's really dark out. Why are we doing this? Why won't we go back and get him?" Nobody knew how to talk to him. I had to talk to him. I had to kneel down to his level and explain what happened, and in a way that a 6-year-old would grasp. Watching his world being destroyed haunts me every day. And it's compounded by the fact that when this happened, I grew up in an area where gun violence was normal. It shouldn't be. So, based off of that, I hate guns. I think they belong in cartoons. I think they're fine in anime. They're fine in video games. I don't want to see them in real life. Post-edit, I do know how to shoot guns. I've actually shot several sizes of guns. I even shot an AR-15 once. Absolutely none of that makes me care about guns anymore. It didn't endear me towards guns. Learning how to take apart, clean, put a gun back together really didn't do anything for me. If anything, learning how to safely shoot guns with proper training only made me hate them more, because I realized that no matter what the magic TV box wants to tell you, no matter what your paranoid friend tells you, these things are pretty simple to use. It's no wonder to me how many kids have gotten involved with these things, and I do stress the word children. It doesn't surprise me at all that a small child can figure out the safety on one of these things. It's really not that hard. Do we have ways to protect ourselves? Yes. Do I like having that in my house? No. Do I like having that on me? Also no. And I really feel like that's yet another burden that should not be mine. So, not only being told you have to document everything that this person does about you, but also being told you should consider a gun, I found that to be truly disgusting. And I told my therapist about that. I said, I want nothing to do with guns or with any form of weaponry. That's not my job. And the other thought that I had was, is this why I'm a Sailor Moon fan? And I know that sounds really weird. We're talking about stalking and a negligent dad and gun violence, and these things are not even linked together, and then I'm linking this girl. What's up with me, right? My therapist thinks I'm onto something. So check this out. Think about Sailor Moon. Any version you want, it's all going to be the same story from here on out. She's the Moon Princess. She's supposed to be protected. She is supposed to have the other girls watch over her, protect the Earth, protect her, protect the moon, protect wherever the hell she's at. I wouldn't say they do the best job of that. Things happen. So, because other people are not good at this job, she suffered for it, she paid for it, and subsequently now it's her job to wield that wand. It's her job to wield that crystal. It's her job to save the world from the monsters, the demons, the aliens, the people who just really ought to consider getting a life. And that's not supposed to be her job. That is not supposed to be her job. That's why, unless you're watching the Toon Maker's version, there is no other version where her life on the moon had her in a little sailor suit. That was literally not her job. That was everybody else's job. But now it's her burden. And she doesn't want that job. She does it well, but she doesn't really want that job. She has to teach herself to want that job to protect everybody. But it's not fair. It's not her job. Going into her Earth life, when she's reincarnated as Usagi, what do we see in the first season? Well, in the first season of the 90s anime, she's got little brother Shingo. Shingo needs help at school. Shingo needs help with Luna. Shingo needs help getting in and out of all the situations Shingo's getting into for those couple of episodes. Where's mom and dad? Well, they're there, physically. Mentally, they may as well be on the moon too, because they're not doing anything. So even though this is not her job, this is not her responsibility, she's the one talking to Shingo's little friends. She's the one making sure Shingo does the right thing and apologizes to Mika when he breaks the doll. She's the one who's there to get him unhooked when he gets addicted to the Chanela bunny thing. And that shouldn't be her job. That's not her responsibility. That's not her son. But she's doing that anyway. And that really got me thinking, maybe on a subconscious level, maybe I could see a little of myself in her. I mean, obviously she's cuter. I mean, that's not even up for debate. I mean, I can barely do the hairstyle today. But in a weird way, having to carry burdens that don't belong to you while you yourself are struggling, I can kind of relate. I mean, academically, I was a straight A+ student, so I can't relate to her on that one. But there were some areas where I did struggle. Math and PE were not my favorite subjects. And I was a super, super clumsy kid. I'm still a clumsy adult, actually. Like her, I was woefully immature, hated getting up early, just wanted to sleep and eat and play video games and collect anime trinkets. I still had to be, like, hyper responsible where I didn't need to be. Kind of like Luisa in Encanto, where, like, everybody's just dropping their family burdens onto her, and she has to carry that with a smile. How about you? Do you have any shows that make you feel represented in a way like you can relate to a character so hard you see yourself in that character? Not in an idealized, I wish I could be this character version, but more like in a, hey, you already share these traits kind of way. I know some folks who kind of see themselves in Jupiter, where, and in a way I see it myself too, Jupiter is a little girl. She's a little girl with her hair up in a ponytail, and she likes frilly, girly girl things. But because of the situation she's in, where she's tall for her age at 5'6", and so many men feel threatened by her, she has to protect herself. She has to fight. It's not that she necessarily wants to pick fights with people, like people at school tell rumors about. It's that she's had to protect herself on a man's level because grown men come at her. But deep down, she's a girly girl with traditional values. And she has to deal with a lot of guys not wanting to be around her because she's tall for her age. I was tall for my age. I find it interesting I'm only 5'4" now because I reached my adult height early. I was a really tall girl growing up. And I did see a little of myself in Sailor Jupiter, plus she's wearing my two favorite colors. But I did see myself a little in her because my nickname at school was Gulliver. The only kids that were bigger than me were the bullies that had been left back enough years that some of them shaved. Daily. In some ways, I kind of, as a kid, lived a little vicariously through Chibiusa once I stopped hating her. Initially, she wasn't my favorite character. After I read the manga and watched the end of Sailor Moon R, I realized I had the character thoroughly backwards. And I became a mega fan after the end of Sailor Moon R, but in a little way, I kind of saw myself in her too, where people were so quick to write her off as this evil, creepy brat, and then you find out, much like her mom, she's dealing with things that are not her responsibility. In this case, going back in time, because people made some really bad decisions. I just find that really interesting about my psyche. I was ready to just say, oh, I'm just a fan of this show and manga meta series and move on. So I'm really grateful that I'm trying out this new form of therapy. It is a bit intense. So if you have post-traumatic stress disorder, you might want to do some cognitive behavioral therapy first. Build yourself up, which is what I did. And then your first couple of sessions won't be nearly as bad. Because for some folks it can be a bit much, but if you persevere and you push through it, not only can it help with the flashbacks and the nightmares, it also, like in today's case, helps you learn about yourself. This is a really cool version of therapy. I'm glad that a friend of mine got me into this, and I'm really excited about my next sessions with my therapist. You know, this doesn't feel like a chore anymore. This feels like, ooh, going to the movies, sort of. I'm just eager to keep learning about myself.